Be it as it may, the disease has a pathology that it follows a certain pattern as it infects you and leads you to fatality. Now, normally when people are sick, they get symptoms. And when they get the symptoms, they begin to get worried and they go to the doctor. At that point, the doctor would diagnose the disease, recommend appropriate actions to undertake to deal with the disease. That is the weakness that we have in Africa. We wait for the disease to attack. When the disease has already attacked individuals, then we try to get a remedy. This approach to healthcare is driven by greed. It's driven by pharmaceutical companies that want to reap maximum profit from unfortunate situations. What should happen actually is that we must develop an architecture of identifying diseases, preventing them from attacking people, and putting in place mechanisms of managing it. What does that mean in a nutshell? It means that from primary school to secondary school to universities, kids need to get an education system that teaches them how the knowledge they are acquiring are supposed to help them to solve problems within their communities. It is not about getting degrees and getting certificates and proving that you are educated. You are educated if the knowledge that you have helps you to solve human problems. I am against testing of people for coronavirus. I'm against that. This does not mean that I'm denying the existence of the disease. Far from it. In fact, I'm saying that people need to wash their hands if that's what they must do, wear masks if that's what they must do, have plastic veils to allow them to see but to protect their eyes from being contaminated, because we are told that the coronavirus can contaminate you from the eyes, the nose, and the mouth. Manufacturing of personal protection equipment. Surely, we know that plastic can prevent air from entering a place, liquids from entering a place. So what does it take for the government to use the money that it's putting out for economic stimulus to begin to manufacture this? To support people to import plastic, support people to manufacture them, and each household will have pairs of protective gear which they can put on at any given time when there is disease such as corona. And we're going to have other diseases coming up. So this should be part of our mechanism of protection. So it's not just the medical practitioners who need this personal protection equipment. It is also the population. The entire population needs that. And now that is an opportunity for Kenya to begin to manufacture these things by having plastic and glue and having people trained in tailoring to cut these pieces and make overalls that can have helmets and plastic transparent material to allow them to see, and then have a mask which they can breathe through. That's one. The second thing I'd like to talk about is the economics part of it. The prevention mechanisms, social distancing, sanitizing, wearing protection gear, all that can give opportunity for economic development. The second thing that people should do is to make sure that once people have this protection gear, then they need to move back to work. Because money, legal tender, is simply value of the economy. So that means if there are no services, there are no sufficient goods that are being sold, people cannot render services, devalue the money. Devalue it. So that you cannot continue asking people, for example, who live in houses in Nairobi, paying $500 or $1,000 or $2,000 to continue doing that when the economy is in shambles. To be able to balance this economy, you need to reduce the rent by executive order. That's what leadership is all about. The president should come out and say, in these locations, in those locations, we are going to devalue the value of your houses by 60% because our economy is messed up at 60%. That way, you allow the economy to operate within the constraints for which it is facing. So that when you open up the economy, you put in mechanisms to stop the spread, and you allow people to go back to work. Schools should open, hotels should open, markets should open, airlines should work, transport systems should be open, production industries must open, but with protection gear to protect people from getting contaminated and spreading the coronavirus. This idea of copying other countries who are not thinking even through what they are doing is the most crazy thing I have seen in this life. So I recommend and I appeal to the government, stop buying the testing kits. Buy the testing kit, put them in health centers, build isolation wards, equip those isolation wards, pass out a message on how to prevent the spread of the disease so that people can have a consistent message going to them through SMS, through media, through theater, through drama, through songs, so that they get the message home. Once that message has landed, then you supply the necessary material to help them to prevent the spread. You cannot be allowing people, cartels, to start making unnecessary water shortages so that people cannot have water, and you are talking about at the same time that you want to bring down the disease. Make sure everybody in the country has water, everybody has electricity, everybody has reasonable rent, food prices dropped because the economy has gone down. When the economy is doing better, these prices can go back because there will be money enough to respond to these needs. You cannot keep the prices of commodities high when there are challenges in the economy, when people are not moving. I therefore call on the president to decree that rents in the entire country must be dropped by 50%. They must be dropped by 50%. Electricity consumption, the rates for consuming electricity must be dropped because the profit these people make to produce that electricity is not matching with what they charge Kenyans to produce electricity. They must reduce the prices of the electricity by 40% so that everybody who is struggling to have a little money can survive within the constraints of the economy. I don't know what economic advisors the president has, but in my opinion, the legal tender is just a relationship. Money does not have value just because you declare it has value. It has value when it has goods and services that it can purchase. When those goods and services do not exist, there is inflation. That means the prices of that money drops and that money must be devalued. And the only way you devalue it without saying that you have devalued it is by reducing the price index so that the purchasing power of the people is in tandem with how the economy is performing. Very simple economics. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be talking to you later again. I hope that this can be helpful to begin to trigger some thinking or some thought amongst us. Thank you.